Hello everyone, I am CoolGuy, welcome back, and today let's go in depth on the new exotic combat bow, Trinity Ghoul. Bows made their way into Destiny 2 with the launch of Forsaken. It brings a little bit more depth to gameplay, a different way to approach activities. It's a random drop, and hopefully with the new update, more players can get their hands on new exotics. Before we start the review, I have to say that this bow is an absolute blast to use. I love how it looks, how it sounds, how it works. The perks, I love what you can do with the perks. It's the true meaning of an exotic. So let's go over its stats. It has an impact of 80, draw time of 800 milliseconds, accuracy of 93, stability of 50, reload of 55, handling of 58, and an aim assist stat of 74. It also has a zoom factor of 1.8 times. There are 6 total bows in the game currently. 2 are exotic, the Wish Ender and Trinity Ghoul. This has the second slowest draw time right behind Wish Ender, but this bow has the best accuracy, and that's not even close. The next up is the Subtle Calamity at 79. It has the second best reload, the third best handling. Its impact stat of 80 is the second hardest hitting bow in the game, again behind Wish Ender's 92. Before we jump into the review, let's talk about combat bows real quick and give some tips, regardless if you're using Trinity Ghoul or not. The accuracy stat, which is the highest on the Trinity Ghoul, is one of the most important stats, if not the most important stat on a combat bow. The draw time is a tad slow on this one, but that's expected with how hard it hits. Now with all combat bows, there is a sweet spot, and in the sweet spot you do more damage. So if you're a bow user and don't know about this, it's important to keep in mind in both PvE and PvP. When you draw the bow back and fully set the arrow, in the Trinity Ghoul's case, 3 arrows, there's a small window right after it's fully drawn to shoot it. Each bow has a different tell. Now in the Trinity Ghoul's case, it has 3 green lights that fill up as you draw it. It will fully light up green across the board for about a second after that. Then they start flashing. The sweet spot is when they're all filled up green and not flashing. It's in that small window you deal more damage. If you hold on to the bow for too long and shoot it while it's flashing, it does less damage. And you can actually see this window when you're in hip fire. So you have this outer circle here. You start from center. Once you start drawing, your center circle starts expanding, blooming a little bit. Once outside of that set circle, it's over the time. This is just how small the window is to get more damage. So in hip fire, once it reaches past the circle, that time frame is done. This is also your accuracy cone, and this is what's happening under the hood when you're aiming down sights. Trinity Ghoul is special in the case that it does have 3 arrows. For the perks, we have High Tension Spring. This is what gives us our stats. Increases accuracy, slightly slower draw time, slightly decreases stability. Compact Arrow Shaft increases capacity. Its exotic perk is Split Electron. Fires an arrow that splits when released. Aiming down sights and fully drawing the bow both decrease the spread. Now the nerd in me needs to remind you that the Electron is negatively charged and is the carrier of electricity in solids. Let's forget I just said that. Let's move on to its other perk, Lightning Rod. Precision kills grant the next shot chaining capabilities. This has a lot of utility and we'll talk about it throughout the review. When we're shooting Trinity Ghoul, again, we look at those green lights, and if not, as soon as the 2 outside bars lock in, that's when you want to shoot it. You want this bow to be fully drawn, because if you don't, the 3 arrows fan out. Or in a panic situation, you want to do this, but most of the time, you don't. You want all 3 arrows to go straight on a full draw. Most of the ways we're going to talk about using Trinity Ghoul are going to be universal in both PvE and PvP. You want to land precision shots. Once you land one, the arrow tips will have electricity, meaning that the lightning round is charged. Once you're here, you can do a number of things, and yes, you can chain the lightning rods. Say you have one, land another precision kill, it will grant another lightning rod. You can shoot the lightning rod on the floor, a wall, a ceiling, and it will seek a target and chain to them. It's one of the best ways to use it. In PvE, it has a lot of mob control. It has its place. It's an arc energy bow, but in PvE, the risk runner claims that space in a lot of arc activities if the enemies are shooting arc, but if the enemies aren't, that's where the Trinity Ghoul comes in. A lot of it is a fun factor too. It's a hybrid Firefly as far as mob control, going for a precision kill, then dropping multiple targets due to chain lightning. It's just a real blast to do. The bow themselves, they're kind of a makeshift sniper playstyle. Precise from a distance, do good damage. This particular bow does AoE damage with those lightning rounds, lightning rod. The draw time doesn't allow you to be super aggressive with it, and we'll go over that in the PvP section as well. I've used it in certain sections of the raid, I've used it in strikes. Rarely do we have an arc modifier for Nightfalls, but when we do, I go Trinity Ghoul. The main thing, obviously, is getting the most out of lightning rods as possible. On tougher enemies, yellow bars, and bosses, the Trinity Ghoul doesn't fare that well. Only in certain instances, like if the strike boss or high tier enemy has an encounter where multiple ads are around him, then it does well, because you get a precision shot on an ad, move to the boss, shoot the boss, and he'll chain electricity out to the ads around him. It works really well in that situation, but straight up boss versus the ghoul, not so much. Most players are going to be hitting high level enemies with sleeper, rockets, linear fusions anyway, but overall it's a viable option in PvE for the fun factor alone. It does good damage anyway. and you can use it on specific encounters to get the most out of this bow. And as with most things, it is encounter dependent. I love this thing for PvE. In PvP, it does 52 to the head and 33 to the body per arrow, so a critical is 156 damage and the body is 99. Now that's with that perfect draw that we talked about earlier. If not, it does 49 to the head, so 147 damage to the critical. Its effective range is 80 meters. Now at that range, you do have accuracy issues and only one arrow hits sometimes, so 73 meters is the true effective range. That's the sweet spot with no accuracy issues. I'm gonna tell you right now, rarely if at all, you're gonna be taking shots at someone from this far. The second part is the lightning rod. The most important part of this exotic in PvP. It can chain 7 meters, and it can chain from target to target. The lightning rod has no specific set rules. Once the round is charged and you shoot it against a wall, a ceiling, a floor, and it seeks out an enemy, it will do 51 damage per arrow. So it does close to full damage of the 153 even though you're just shooting it on a wall. And with that, you don't need to have a full draw either. If someone is rushing you, you can just tap the trigger and shoot that fan shot we were talking about. It is still going to do 51 damage per arrow. If you have the lightning rod and do shoot a precision shot on an enemy, it will do an extra 10 lightning damage. And yes, that is enough to one-shot a low-level Guardian and Iron Banner when you start doing 60 and above per critical. Due to the draw time and how this bow works, you want to be on the outside looking in and revolve your playstyle around peek shooting when going around the map. If you're going straight into a choke point and you see 2 enemies, you might have enough time to land one shot on one of them and then you're going to get taken down easily and mowed down. This thing is a great leech weapon. Take shots at enemies that are low health to try to get the precision shots, to try to get the lightning rod. Because when you get the lightning rod, that's where things really get interesting. You can do a lot of things with it. Again, you can lead with it like right here. I know that they're taking B, so I shoot it near the flag on the ground. It chains him, it does 153 damage, and he is now an easy shotgun cleanup. Or right here, I shoot it on the floor, it chains and kills him as he's jumping over to me. There's a lot of things you can do. I love it. Or I have this lightning rod, I see that a group's coming in for us, maybe off spawn, whatever it is, I shoot it on the floor, on the wall, just to weaken them, and if some of them are weak, it might just actually get the kill on them. The lightning rod does chain off of any surface, there's no specific rules, even Titan shields. No real limits on what you can do with the lightning rod. A Titan could be up close to a wall, you could shoot it on the wall next to him or the ceiling above him, and it's going to chain and bypass that barrier. It has a lot of utility. It can also chain off of the actual barrier itself. This particular bow works well on larger maps, not saying you can't go and have a great game on Javelin because you can, but sticking to longer sight lines and cover is going to be key. I put a video out not too long ago where I had 3 games straight. We ran out of medals each game using the Trinity Ghoul in my loadout. I've never done that. I just played smart and I used the bow to its fullest potential. It's one of the best support weapons in the game for not only chunk damage that you do, that 150 plus damage on a headshot, but with what you can do with the lightning rods. That's really how you want to think of this bow, a support weapon. You do massive damage, and I like to be right behind the front line and pick off the enemies. If you do get this bow or get it upcoming recently, consider trying this with it, because if you land a precision shot, you can get that lightning rod and then you can hold on to it. Hold on to that lightning rod and like I said, shoot that thing on a wall, on a ceiling, see a big group coming, chain them. A very fun weapon to use. So let's summarize your effectiveness with Trinity Ghoul within the Crucible. I cannot stress to you enough on how much you need to play to cover, you need to play around your teammates. You can't really be careless with Trinity Ghoul. A lot of times if you're out in the open and you see another enemy, they're out in the open, you're probably going to lose that duel because you need at least 2 shots to come out, and for a fully drawn charge to get your damage, it takes a lot of time. Put it this way, you would have a horrible time taking this thing into Rumble. So what you do want to do, again, is to stay around cover and stay around your teammates. That's the most important thing. If you start leeching kills and really getting chunk damage on your enemies, it's either A, you're going to get the headshot for a lightning rod, or B, your teammate has an easy cleanup. And when you do have that lightning rod, then you, again, are going to be with your team. And if both teams are going to, let's say, a B objective, you're going to be right there to throw that lightning rod down on the point or in their choke point of where they're coming in. Then you do a lot of damage to all of them. It's a really good weapon at that point. And at some point when you do get your hands on this bow, hopefully soon, you're going to find out very soon that you can't really be out in the open with it. Because again, you're going to draw, you're going to get one shot off, and then you're probably down. You need to be next to cover to hit a shot, bounce in and out, and take your shots that way. In conclusion, the bow is designed around lightning rods. Every shot that you take should be about trying to get one in PvE and PvP. That's where you're gonna have the most fun with it, that's where you do the most damage. The only drawback to this exotic is the draw time, but as a player that doesn't bother me. As a player, I recognize that as a weakness. It's just how the weapon is. It's a risk versus benefit type situation, and the benefit outweighs the risk. I think that if you play to the strengths of Trinity Ghoul, you can have a great time with it. I, for one, love it. So if you're new here, remember to hit the subscribe button for more breakdowns and reviews. If you are subscribed, I thank you so much for your continued support. And YouTube is kind of weird at times. The notification bell is the best way to see when videos go live. So let me know down in the comment section what your guys' thoughts are on Trinity Ghoul. Thank you guys for watching, and until the next one, I am CoolGuy.
I need a hunter like you with the red jacks.